Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Enlightened Entrepreneur. The title of our interview today is Product Creation. Critical skills every business owner needs to have and develop if they're to succeed with creating products or services. My name is Yokai Kachidori, and I'm talking to an expert when it comes to creating a service. And the lady I have with me here on this call is Candice Galek. I hope I pronounced that right. Candice, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Incredible. And I'm actually looking forward to having you on to hear what you have to say, because over the last 2 years, you have brought one of your passion to reality or to the market. You started, with just a passion. Now you're actually running your own business and getting your ideas to the people. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. And the other thing that I like about you is you're actually a hands-on, individual. You just don't talk about what you're doing, you demonstrate what you're doing. So to get us started, Candice, could you tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of background, education, and your experience when it comes to creating a service or a product?
Of course, I would love to. So, starting out, my goal with creating my own business was to create a longer lasting career that I was happy to do, that I loved waking up and preparing for. And some of my strengths were customer service, sales. Um, a lot of my background was in those two fields. So I took what I had learned over the years, and my connections at the time were mostly related to the fashion or swimwear industry here in Miami, Florida. And I put those two together and decided, you know what, I think I would excel at selling swimwear online. And that's what I did, and it's been quite a fun process so far.
Beautiful. And you have an interesting background, like we were talking before the show, that you did not have any entrepreneurial background until you started your own company. Tell me what triggered you to say, you know what, I'm going to work for myself.
I think that a lot of people who decide to work for themselves have something in common, and that's generally that at most of your jobs, you feel as though you could do a better job than the people who are managing it.
Right.
Um, and also, I've always kind of had that urge to be my own boss and make my own rules and be able to wear a pair of jeans and a t-shirt into the office if that's what I wanted to do.
Right.
So um, that's kind of where I got started, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs have that kind of common um, want for freedom almost. And it's
Right.
funny because you start your own business and you're anything but free. You're very busy, and you know that the growth and strength of your company depends on your being there. So
That's correct.
yeah, so it's just something that I've always wanted to do, and,
Excellent.
and it's happening.
Awesome. Candice, you're such a wonderful person. So I'm going to ask you the questions that are close to the point. Many entrepreneurs, have those things which you've mentioned, but not all of them will say, actually step out and start their business. What actually pushed you to say, I'm going to start my business? At what point did you decide to do that?
I think at a point where I was unsure of what my career path would be long term.
Right.
I didn't know really before that what I wanted to do. I switched a lot. My major switched a few times, and I still wasn't clear. And then one day I had this idea, and I was like, you know what? I think that I could really make that work, and I would be happy doing it. And that to me made the most sense.
Incredible. And what did you have to do from that point? What were the necessary steps that you took?
The steps that I took were basically to keep an open mind and learn everything possible about the online industry that I could.
Right.
Uh, I had a background of, obviously I use social media and blogging, but in terms of running a real business, I didn't have a lot of experience in that. So I took to Google and I started searching. And there's so much information on there. There's so many people that are willing to provide insight into the various aspects of running a business online, and that's really where I gained the base of the business is just by reading articles online.
Incredible. And did you also have like mentors? I know you did because we mentioned about that, but I would like you to to bring to the attention of our audience here how the mentors sort of helped you, especially during those early years.
A lot of people have an idea of who their mentor is before they begin the business,
Right,
and it's something that I have been actively searching for this entire time, and I'm just starting to now find those people in my life through various connections. But early on, some of the people who um, helped give me little snippets of advice that I should be doing or shouldn't be doing were some of the brands that I was working with, because
right,
they already had their brand up and running. They had an idea of the swimwear industry, and they may not be on the same page as far as I'm a retailer and they're more of like a vendor, but they gave me kind of like ideas into what some of the paperwork um, that I should have on my end should say, like examples of their other clients and what theirs was. So those little things like set off a light bulb in my head, and we're like, oh, I really need to be doing this. And so basically, some of the designers from the brands that I carried in the beginning really
right.
helped fuel that information.
Incredible. Now, before we jump into the necessary skills, into the the necessary steps, like we're going to spend most of our time together. Would you consider yourself to have had overnight success, or you're having to work so hard for for you to see the return on investment of your time?
I definitely was not an overnight success.
Right,
I've had people say like, "Wow, this is has changed and grown so much in such a short period of time," and it has grown and it has changed. But I work from the moment that I wake up until the early hours of the morning. The sun is almost coming up before I actually go to bed. So
right.
it's definitely, I think, just due to my smarter than other entrepreneurs or better at online business, or that I have this secret magic potion that has made it to become what it is. But I know that I do have a very strong work ethic, and I think that is what has helped push the business so far.
Incredible. Where do you get the strong work ethic from?
I think this is what I want to do, and it's my baby and my company, and I want it to perform and to do well. So I
Yes.
think kind of where the fuel comes from. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the same thing with me. In fact, here on the show, we tell people, when you are about to go into a business, figure out if this is something that you really want to do, because not so good days ahead. And when you have passion with something, you will find energy, to go ahead during those time. Uh, Candice, what maybe two, three major roadblocks that you've had to face in the early years of running a business?
in the early portion of my business, a few of the things that were difficult to surpass was, of course, being the new kid on the block.
Right.
There's a lot of competition in terms of online retail.
But how did you overcome that? I'm going to interject that before I forget.
So it was just kind of assessing what the trouble areas are and
Yes.
focusing on those. For example, for us to come in and start selling luxury swimwear lines, the competition has been around. They've been around for years, and they rank very high in Google, and they have advertisements and all these things. So in the beginning, the roadblocks were very much so trying to compete in terms of Google rankings with brands that had been long standing.
Right.
Um, so I mean, I used Google AdWords in the beginning, and tried to learn that whole aspect, which is very difficult. You have to spend a lot of time learning that.
Absolutely. You tell me about it. You spend all that time, and the next thing you hear there is, a new algorithm that had been set up, and you have to relearn the whole thing again.
Yeah, they don't make it easy for you, that's for sure.
No, no. But the beautiful thing is, once you've mastered that, and you also learn the art of delegation and appointing other people to assist you in those areas, it really it becomes easier because you take yourself out of the equation and you put somebody in there, and you get to your goal much faster.
That is true, but it's also for a small business not always feasible when
Yes,
your budget is not it's not there. You know,
yes,
you have to kind of figure out, am I going to put some money into this with hopes that it will come back in the long run? And that's something that I've always done. I've always reinvested as much money as possible into the growth of the business.
that's
And,
right.
and I think that that's where I've seen results.
Yes, yes. Because in the beginning, you have a choice. You have time. You can invest time, or you can invest money. And oftentimes, small business they don't have the money. But on the other hand, they've got a few extra hours in the evening, like you mentioned just a few minutes ago that you sometimes work into the early hours of the morning. I, uh, you know, I remember those years. I would start work at 10 in the evening and finish working on my project that I will be working at the time about 2 or 3 in the morning, and then get up again in the following day so that I get to the office.
Of course.
uh,
And a lot of people starting out, they have a job, a real job where they have to go in and work all week long, and then their business venture is kind of a part-time thing,
yes,
until it becomes big enough to take over your entire schedule.
yes, yes. What other roadblocks did you face other than the new kid on the block?
Yeah. Other than that, in terms of learning um, how to manage your inventory, for one,
Right,
inventory was increasingly difficult for myself because once I started having sales and trying to figure that out, I asked my friends who knew a little bit about it. I said, well, how do you figure out how much inventory you need?
right.
And they said, oh, look at last year's numbers. And I was like, but I don't have a last year. I don't, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I figure this out? So um, learning to manage inventory was one roadblock,
Right,
especially the way that shopping websites are set up now, where something could easily trend and you'll sell, like 20 or 50 pieces of one thing while other things are selling or they're not selling. But to manage that where it's kind of unpredictable is hard for a newcomer.
absolutely, absolutely. So, how did you overcome that, Candice?
Luckily, the items that trended for myself early on, they continued to sell. So I just restocked inventory kind of as I saw that it was becoming low.
Right.
But there are now plenty of apps that help you to like predict your inventory levels based on sales that you have had previously.
Awesome.
Um, Something that we use now.
Awesome. 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 And maybe one last roadblock that you faced, for the benefit of our audience who may be going through similar things that you had to go through.
Of course. Another roadblock I think was once the sales did start coming in, and I was, working by myself from my living room, trying to package orders and handwriting shipping labels and trying to keep track of all the information. Um, that was difficult to overcome, and I was able to find early on an app called Go Shippo that
Right.
helped to um, not only seamlessly integrate my orders along with my shipping labels, and it would also update my customer automatically with the tracking number, which was very helpful at that time because I was handwriting on a piece of paper the address and taping it to the package and writing in the book about the tracking number, and then I would email the customer, and it was quite the process.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Can you
but
imagine?
there's so many options in terms of you click a few buttons and type in a few numbers and then your customer automatically knows what's going on. So I would definitely those apps aren't even expensive. They cost maybe 5 cents per label or something ridiculous. And in terms of your time spent and now
Yeah.
your time saved, it's definitely worth it.
Incredible. What I like about what you just shared there, it shows, your creativity aspect of that, in finding that you had all these difficulties, all this, and then you came up with a process, you are using it too, which for our business, tools are really are the way forward for any company. You put systems in place.
It's true.
Uh,
It
yeah.
makes it much faster, and your most valuable asset is your time. And the more time you have available, the better.
Incredible. Well, it's obvious to me that you've been around the block for here for a while. Let's switch gear for a moment and talk about the necessary skills that you or a business owner needs to develop if they're going to bring a service to the market. What
Okay.
Yeah, what would you say is the first set of skills that a business owner or a wannabe business owner must develop?
I think that overall you must have a great time management.
Right.
You need to allocate certain times to set goals. Otherwise, you can find yourself sucked into a vortex of random things, and by the end of the day, you realize you never even accomplished the things that were on your to-do list.
Right.
But definitely, time management is one of those skills.
Right.
Also,
Before we move on to the next one, how do you manage your time? Maybe you could describe your typical day for our audience.
of course, so I start out, the time varies depending on how late I went to bed because even now, 2 years in, I'm still going to sleep very late.
Right.
Um, because once I get home, I can't stop working. So, so I get started. I check my emails in the morning. I kind of I handwrite a lot of things because I prefer to see them like my schedule handwritten.
Awesome.
So I plan out my day as far as from 1 to 3. I have meetings or maybe a podcast or an interview of some sort. Um, and therefore, like I guess from the office after that, I go in and take take some time to really like catch up on what's important that day with all the girls and we do everything at the warehouse from packaging orders to SEO to we have an in-house PR team. So keeping everyone on the same page it can be tricky. So that's something that I do. Also, in terms of like photo shoots, we might have a photo shoot going on, which we have a studio in the office. And that really came from again trying to get a hold of the time that we had available.
Right.
And instead of leaving the office and traveling to go to a photo shoot, now we do them all in the office to save time.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Again, there is that creativity there for business owners that you just have to do what is necessary, and be as creative as you possibly can, so that your business, can move on from where it is to where you want it to be. Just to go a little bit further with time management. Do you use any tools to help you with this skill?
Currently, this is probably one of the areas where I don't use a lot of tools to manage it.
Right.
I find myself, wearing a lot of hats and being pulled every which way. That's something as an owner that a lot of people are like, why? You need to just let go.
That's
And
right.
it's hard to let go. And I understand the importance of delegating, but at the same time, um, it's hard to be a hands-on person but try to pull back. And I think that a lot of owners will struggle with that. However, what I have been able to focus on lately are my strengths, which previously, when I was busy running the everyday work, I was not able to do.
Right.
So now I'm able to make connections, to go out and meet with people who will push my business from where it is now into where it needs to be in the future. Also, to do some of the creative aspects that I enjoy doing, like editing photos, even doing articles and blog posts are kind of fun for me. So I have a little more time now in my day to do some of that. But overall, every hour and minute of the workday is spent on bettering the business.
Incredible. Candice, you mentioned something very important there, which I'm hoping our audience will be able to pick up on. And that is, it's not easy to let go. When you're getting started, you hear people say, delegate, delegate, delegate. And you mentioned rightly so that in the beginning, it may not be possible or it may not be easy. Uh, I'll give you my personal experience. The first 2 years of running the business, it was a process. I had to do everything. One, because I did not have enough money to be paying anyone else to help me or to delegate to. Secondly, I needed to set a culture or a certain way things needs to be done.
Yeah.
So I had to wear different hats in all that so that I put a stamp in the way I wanted to do. And it was not until probably a third year into running a business that I had now had the policies, the procedures, the structure that I needed to do, that I needed to have in my organization, that I could then find somebody else and plug them in there, while I take a step back. So, if you're a business owner, you're getting started, yes, you can delegate. That's absolutely the way forward. I mean, the right thing to do. But, do not feel being pressured that you need to do that right from day one, especially if you're starting a company from ground zero, because that's not the case. The reality is, in the first few years, in my case, about 3 years, really you're working extremely hard. Looking back now, I'm glad that I did that because I sort of have an idea of what is happening across board in my own organization. So, if it means marketing online, I know what is going on there. If it is talking to clients, I know what is going on. I have a general understanding of the entire thing. So thanks, Candice, for bringing that up, for our audience. I just wanted to make sure, people don't feel pressure that they have to do it right away, to delegate straight away. I don't know if that's making sense with you as well.
No, you are making perfect sense. And to touch on that also, you want everyone who is a part of your business, everyone who works for you, who works with you, to understand the different aspects. If somebody calls in sick, if someone, is out of town and someone needs to fill their place, it is important that not only you know what needs to be done, but that the other people around you can also jump in. And that is something that a lot of small businesses expect of their employees, is to be able to wear a lot of hats as you grow.
Absolutely.
And also,
Absolutely.
with the strength of you knowing everything, they have an understanding that there's nothing that you as an owner will not do or do not know how to do. And that's important because no employee ever wants to feel as though they're being, um, as if they know more than the owner does, or that they know more than the manager does. And I know that previously, before owning my own business, I felt that way a lot. I felt that I could do things better. I was more organized. I was more capable of doing their position than they were. However, if you excel at every aspect of your own business, they'll be more confident in you as an owner and manager.
Absolutely, absolutely. Candice, I've been privileged really to communicate with hundreds of entrepreneurs right now. One thing, well, I have to be very ignorant not to figure this out, that the journey of an entrepreneur is not easy sailing. You have a difficult moment, and what I can say is, when you're getting started, the getting started part is the difficult part. Once you've been at it for a few years down the line, 3 years max. I mean, I'm talking from my own experience. It took me about 3 years when I started actually seeing, real tangible result. I know other people see it a bit before, but for me, it was after 3 years of working hard, day in, day out, being persistent, and getting rejection. Because people are not, like, I'm talking in terms of my outsourcing company.
Right.
People don't know what I represent. I had to educate them, all that sort of things. that happens in the beginning. And if you can stick it out, just like Candice, Candice, you can tell me, if I'm wrong here, that, as you continue, on this journey, things gets easier and easier and easier, because some people comes in and they know now what you're trying to do. The vision is now clearer. Because in the beginning, when you're doing it as a business owner, sometimes the vision is not even clearer to yourself. you know you still
Like so
do you know what I mean by that?
of course. I mean, the not only has my brand image been changing over and over, but also the way that we do things and the way that people perceive Bikini Luxe as a company
Yes.
ever changing. I know that one of my strengths now, from all my homework and my learning, is and my interest generally is the business aspect of it. So a part of me that many people see, like, as along with this interview podcast, um, the customers don't really see this. Like, my current customers just go to the website, they see a beautiful website and beautiful bikinis, and they buy it. But
By the way, your website is amazing, Candice.
thank you.
And I think if you're listening and you're in the audience, you have to check out the website. Can you say the name of the website, Candice?
Yep, it's www.bikinilux.com, and that is Lux with an E at the end, Luxe.
Awesome. Sorry I interrupted you, but I just liked it. Okay, somebody's doing a great job on that. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
everything is always changing, and as an entrepreneur, these days it's very difficult to keep up with that. Whether, like you mentioned before, it's a Google algorithm, or it's an overall a look and feel of the brand's identity, or it's a lot to keep up with.
Yes, and because it's a lot to keep up with like that, that's where the hard working comes in. If you've got a great work ethic, you will still continue going, and especially if you have the right drive and you want to add value. In fact, one of the things I asked Candice earlier on before we jump on this podcast was, why Candice wanted to do this podcast. Maybe Candice, you could, say it the way you said earlier on, why you agreed to do a podcast with us.
Of course. So, um, I think it's very important to help to empower others, to give them a real life, like, insider point of view of what it's like to grow a business, to spend a lot of time and effort on it. And I know that when I was starting, as I said, I got all of my education, all of my knowledge from online, from searching, from watching videos and articles, and all of those things. And it's important um, to get someone else's point of view who's been there and done it.
That's
And
right.
that is not always offered up very easily. Like, I can't say that any of my competitors jumped in and were like, "Hey, I'd love to help you." Like, no, that's not the case. But it's important to gain whatever knowledge you can, and if someone like me is willing to do that, then it's worth listening to.
Incredible. Now, because of our time here, Candice, would you say there is another major skill worth pointing out to our listeners here that business owners need to develop if they're going to be a success when it comes to bringing their passion, their ideas to the marketplace?
Yeah, something that a term I've heard you use quite a few times in
Right,
this podcast is the word creativity.
right.
And I can't say that it's something you can just have one day. Like, if you don't have it now, you can just build it. I'm not sure about that, but something that a lot of the people in this industry that I know do have, and it's a lot of creativity. It's thinking outside of the box.
That's right.
It's taking an opportunity and spinning it into a different direction to better suit your needs. Um, there's tons of different things. You just have to always be willing to jump on something and take advantage of it to better build your business. Even if it's something wild, like you've never expected to do before. Um, so creativity is very important. I mean, in terms of building your business, in terms of keeping it afloat after the first few formative years.
Right.
with the change that occurs constantly, you have to kind of be creative to roll with the punches. And I think that's what is a very important skill these days.
Incredible, absolutely. How do you, employ this creativity skill? How do you develop that? In your business, how are you doing that, Candice?
I think that creativity has been something that I've always had. I can't say that I'm an artist because I can't draw to save my life, but um, there's a lot of different aspects that I find that I myself am interested in, whether it's business, whether it's writing, or like I mentioned before, photo editing. Like there's my interests are so vast that I
Wonderful.
kind of pull from all of them and kind of make sense of it. Like we were recently having some controversy on LinkedIn, and that spun into a Forbes article, which then spun into a business.com article, which, like everything, you just kind of have to take it and see how it applies to something else
Right.
and go from there.
Incredible. Incredible. Well, one of my mentor once said to me when I sort of quizzed him about creativity, he said, look, the best way I can tell you about creativity is taking two things that don't belong to each other and figuring out a way of putting them together to make one new thing. I
Yeah.
thought that's a brilliant, way of putting it. And I've done that. I'm sure, just like Candice has done it as well, pulling things from many different things. In fact, that's one of the reasons I do podcasting myself, is I get to speak with individuals from all walks of life, business owners, like now, having done it for a while now, speak to business owners in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, US, of course, here in the UK, uh, you know, and just communicating with them how they're running businesses, and attending mastermind, it breeds such creativity skill in you. And so if you are in the audience, and you want to develop in this, talk to other business owners, find out, be interested in what others are doing, and with an intention to learn. And as you do that, you find that your creativity part of your brain will be stimulated, and you begin to see how you can use a certain concept, maybe it's a marketing concept, from another industry into your own industry, in your own brand. And before long, you've got something that is unique, something that the market will say, oh yeah, I want that as well. Yes.
Wise words.
Thank you. Candice, I know a lot of people would really want to connect with you, and maybe do business with you. If they do, how can they go about doing that?
How can they go about contacting me?
Correct.
Well, I think the best way is through the website. I see a lot of the emails that come in through there, and that's bikinilux.com. Also, you can connect to me on LinkedIn. Um, I have a lot of fun connecting with people all over the world from all walks of life and everything on there. But those are probably the two best ways to connect and talk business.
Awesome. Other than that, do you offer any services? Maybe you could share exactly what you do, so that people will have an idea of what they can expect, when they work with you.
Any services?
Correct.
Personally, a few people have reached out to further discuss business or to ask for a few helpful tips and pointers, and I'm always happy to help. But also, if you're interested in figuring out some information like how to find the perfect bikini for your body type, our website is very informative. We have like infographics on there to determine that. But in terms of business, I'm always willing to lend a hand and offer an outsider's point of view.
Incredible. Thank you so much, Candice, for being generous with your information. Maybe one last word, that if you were to do it all over again, running your business right from scratch, what would you do differently can you share that with our audience?
Of course. So this may be a little bit specific to my business as being a clothing retailer, swimwear retailer online. However, something that is very powerful currently in terms of social media are fashion bloggers and brand ambassadors and influencers. And those people have themselves a huge following of other girls, which is my demographic, women who are interested in what they're wearing and what they're doing, and taking advantage of those connections and therefore showing their brand to all of their followers is something that I probably would have done earlier on, which
Right.
I've seen a lot of success from. But in terms of running a business in general, something that I might have done earlier is try to get as much automated as possible, whether it's automatic emails or the way that you share your posts with your different websites like Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it may be. Automation is definitely helpful in terms of multitasking, and it's priceless.
Incredible, incredible. Talking of automation, I discovered a new tool, Candice, that for automation. Actually, I'll mention that it's called Buffer Pablo. You can use this tool, to create quickly images.
Okay.
That you can like infographics is really, really, really good. I was playing with it earlier on. One of my virtual assistants sent it to me, and I said, "Oh wow!" It's one of those little things. And there is another one called Tailwind App. .com, where you can use it to find or discover really, really good contents and schedule posts, and you can use it to analyze your Instagram and Pinterest. Those things, some of the things that the team is beginning to use just to automate things.
Apps, and they've also helped my business so much. I wish that I had known about those earlier.
Yes. Well, the team have been using that for a while, for a long time. It's only now they've shared that with me. I think, okay, I need to know these things.
Right? I feel like there's something new that my girls bring to me every day. They're like, "Have you heard of this?" And I'm like, "What is that?" Like, they're like,
That's
"Oh, well, Periscope." And I'm like, "Periscope? I mean, we've done Periscope. I like Periscope." And they're like, "No, it's like the thing." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay." And being I'm young, I feel like I should know everything that's out there, and I'm getting a taste finally of like what my parents must have felt like when this whole like internet thing happened, and like,
yes.
how do you use Snapchat? I don't know.
That's wonderful.
Something all the time, but definitely jump on the bandwagon and give it a try.
Absolutely. And that is where creativity comes in. You see something coming up and say, oh, I wonder if we could use the same enthusiasm, we could use the same creativity into our business. All works together in the end. When you relax and you're going after your dreams, it all comes together. Well, Candice, we really want to honor your time, and you've been gracious with your knowledge, and thank you so much for being here with us and sharing what you have learned on the journey, as an entrepreneur, and what you hope to help others with.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
And we hope we may be able to reach out to you at some point in future to have another session. Maybe to do with our business as well.
Of course, I would love that.
Awesome. And if you're listening, thank you for being here with us and really trusting us with your time to learn one or two things about business. And I hope you, like me, I've been taking notes, have learned some more things from Candice. And with that being said, we really appreciate, wish you all the best in your business. Don't just listen to these things, action them, write these things down and put them into practice, because the real thing is when you do them, not just listening. Listening is great, but that's the beginning of the process. Just go ahead and implement them. You'll be amazed at the changes that will happen in your business. Once again, really appreciate you, and wants the best for you. Have a great day, everyone, and thanks again, Candice, for being here with us.
Thank you. It was so much fun.
Okay, bye for now.